Morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for NCDIT's End User Training for SharePoint Online. Our presenter today is Greg Rojas, Microsoft's Senior Cloud Solutions Architect for SharePoint, Teams, OneDrive, and Groups. Just as a reminder, this meeting is being recorded and will be available after the session. Also, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, which you can see at the top of your screen. Okay, Greg, take it away.
Thank you so much, Karen, and good morning, state of North Carolina. Hello, hoping you guys have been having some wonderful weather. At least Karen did say it's not as warm as it was, but hopefully no snow, no ice storms, any of that kind of good stuff. I'm sitting in sunny Florida, so I've got a view of the Tampa Bay. It's pretty darn nice. It's one of my favorite views here in the Microsoft office, but I came out to the office to make sure we had good quality training today. Wanted to make sure that I didn't have any interruptions from my dogs barking at the Amazon guy or my neighbor mowing his grass, the typical disturbances nowadays. So I came up to the office to make sure you guys had a very good class today. Class is very, very casual, okay? If you've got to go ahead and go. Take off if you need to. If you got to attend another meeting, it is okay. When we're done the class today, I'm going to provide Karen and Rodney and company all the slides, so they'll share them with you out maybe on the SharePoint side or through their OneDrive. So she'll download the attendance roster from today, and for those in attendance, get a copy of all the slides that we're going to go through today. All right, so a little bit about me. I think I did tell you I'm living in Tampa, Florida. Been here in Florida since 2005. Would never move back. Originally from Brooklyn, New York, as you can see on my slides here. I'm a true New York fan of everything in New York: the food, the culture, and of course the sports. My areas of expertise is all what we consider in Microsoft. It's called modern work. It's SharePoint, Teams, OneDrive, Groups, all the neat things that we do nowadays using our Office products. I have been doing SharePoint since the very beginning of its time. Actually, before it was even called SharePoint, originally it was called Team Services back in 2001. I've been with Microsoft for several years now and looking forward to 10, 20 more years if they keep me around that long. I did serve the Air Force for 21 wonderful years. Would do it again, but they tell me I'm a little too old. A little fun fact, you see this picture of me, that's one of my passions. My passions, as you see down at the bottom, is my faith, my family, my friends, and of course, fitness. So that picture of me is being a Zumba instructor. I've been a Zumba instructor for almost 12 years now. Now, typically, when I go through these morning slides, I'll tell you a little bit about me, and then I ask you guys to tell me a little bit about you. Being that we've got over 100 folks in here, that would take half the day, if not more. So we're going to kind of bypass that, just to let you laugh at my picture, and then we'll just kind of keep going. So it is 10 o'clock. We are starting here at 10 o'clock. We've got a schedule probably till about 3 o'clock, and that might push it maybe a few minutes over. Hopefully not. We'll try to do the best we can with time management. If you've got to use the restroom, if you see on here, just go ahead and go. No need to raise your hand or come off of mute and say, hey, can I have a break? I need to go potty. I will take breaks at the top of every hour. 5 to 10 minutes, get us to stretch, maybe get a little vitamin D, get some sunlight into us, and stretch and step around. We will take a short lunch break just so we can make sure we get it all in today, and not push you all the way till 4 o'clock. Okay. We do ask if you do come off of mute, which is by all means encouraged to come off of mute. Please don't be shy to raise your hand, come off mute, and ask questions. Typically, we have a device notice on here. That's only if we have cell phones. Just kind of keep them on mute or vibrate so we don't hear them, especially if you're communicating with us over the microphone. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of go through a lot of the SharePoint Online, kind of give you a little bit of history of what's it about and where does it come from and why should we use SharePoint Online? Why should we go modern? Why should we? A lot of whys, right? But the bottom line is we're answering the what's in it for me. Okay, not me as the Microsoft person, but you as the state of North Carolina users. What's in it for you? What can you get out of this training? What can SharePoint really help you with? So here's what we're going to do over the next several hours. We're going to cover different modules. You'll see we have a total of 6 modules that we're going to cover, and we'll talk about some of the bullets on the screen here. I will tell you, I am never going to be a death by PowerPoint person. So you see this I consider this a wall of words, and I would never insult your intelligence and sit here and read them all to you. So as I'm talking to you, that's how I'm going to teach throughout the rest of the day. Here's the last part of the modules. We'll wrap up and we'll talk a little bit about OneDrive at the very end as well. All right, very simple. Look at that. Our first slide deck is already done. Just a little intro slide. And Karen, I know you're going to be monitoring the chat, and I really appreciate that. If there's some questions before I pass on to certain areas, please be sure to let me know as well. And now that I switch slides, Karen, do you still see my full slide deck presentation?
I sure do.
Okay, cool. All righty. So we're going to jump right on in. Here's what we're going to kind of cover in this particular module. We'll understand different workloads that are supported in SharePoint. What does that mean? What is a workload? We'll cover some of that as well. And we're going to talk about 2 templates. Now, by the way, there is pop quizzes at the end of most of these modules. So I like to give out a virtual gold star for the first person that comes off of mute and gives me the right answer. So be prepared. Take notes. You see there, right there, that if I was one of those kind of teachers that leads into, hey, this is one of the things you should know. What are the 2 site templates? Team site, communication site. So it's one of those knocking on the table. So you guys kind of take notes on this, okay? So let's talk about SharePoint. I'm going to go through just a lot of animations on this slide. I'm just kind of pass through this all and speak to it just so we can all kind of use this here. We've heard people use terms such as portals. Okay, portals are normally managed by your IT department. They build everything. They give you access and you just do a couple little things. And the IT folks manage all of that. We don't want to do that anymore. Not in the IT industry. We want it to be more user focused. And if any of you have seen any of the Microsoft literature, our motto is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. So if IT is doing it all, does that empower you? No. So we slide into this thing called collaboration, where we give you the sites, we give you the tools, you build some of your own things, you build your own teams, you create Microsoft 365 groups behind it. And then, of course, there are other certain things within that collaboration space that is managed by IT. We take care of the search. You know, when you want specific verticals, when you're doing for search, app catalog, what are that? When we purchase an app or when IT purchases an app, makes it available for it to be deployed onto your site collection and things like that. And of course, lastly, we end up in OneDrive. OneDrive is a wonderful tool. If you haven't used it, we're definitely going to cover it extensively over today's class. I know we're doing SharePoint, but we can't not talk about OneDrive, right? OneDrive is a
Greg, I'm
yes.
sorry, I need to interrupt you. Apparently, some people are not able to come off mute. So I'm going to be investigating that while monitoring the chat. So just letting you know that.
Okay. Cameron said he could not hear. I could not hear anything. I'll reschedule. Well, that's not good. Wow. Okay. Well, I am so sorry you guys are having some mute issues and unmute issues. But please use the chat. Karen, you monitor the chat for me. Thank you so much.
We will do that.
All right, cool. All right, and lastly, we're talking about OneDrive. OneDrive is an absolutely vital tool nowadays. It is your personal place to store your data, the things that you want to work on. Maybe you want some folks to collaborate with, so you share that information. In a one-on-one conversation in Teams, you have to have OneDrive. So we are, if you're using OneDrive now, great, keep using it. It is an absolute tool. But what you want to know is OneDrive is actually built on top of the SharePoint engine. So it's doing that. I'm going to turn off my mic for the time being. I talk with my hands a lot and it could be disturbing. So I'm just going to go off of my camera there for a little bit. All right. So what we're looking at is, why are we going to SharePoint Online? What are we getting out of SharePoint Online? What it does give you is gives you the ability, and your administrators the ability, to empower you to take care of and collaborate on things that are absolutely necessary each and every day. The days of emailing files around or waiting for people to send you lines to input into a spreadsheet, that's so 90s, right? We don't want to even think about those times. Let's get into this collaboration. Let's get into this thing called co-authoring. Co-authoring, imagine, and I guarantee, if I was able to get everybody to come off of mute, you've opened up that spreadsheet on the network drive only for it to tell you, I'm sorry, Bill has it open. You can open it in read only. Well, that is a thing of the past now with Office 365. We have collaboration, we have co-authoring. You can have 50 to 100 or more people opening the exact same spreadsheet and working on it at the exact same time. Okay, so that
And we have
collaboration.
people with, they can come off mute now. So
Oh,
sorry about that.
yay. Yeah, okay, cool. So I thought you had other questions, or is that what you just making the announcement?
I was just making the announcement.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. So what we're looking at is not only can we collaborate on files, but we can collaborate on sites, site collections. I can bring in key players. I can bring in, key stakeholders. I can bring in folks that are, hey, this guy or gal knows really well about this. Let me bring him or her in. Okay. Then there's things like this ad hoc. You see this ad hoc collaboration site. Maybe sometimes we just need a site for a little bit, use it, and then we can ask the SharePoint admins, hey, can you delete it? We're done with that. And it's very easy to do. Previously in SharePoint on premises, it was a little bit more difficult to do all of that stuff. Now it's all on the fly. So we're looking at those two templates that someone says you might need to know about. So team site, just so you guys know, a team site has nothing to do with Microsoft Teams. Can it? Yes. This is just a template, though. This template, this team site template, has been in development since 2001. Now, we didn't have Teams or OneDrive or SharePoint Online. It was just a team site because it's designed for the team, the group, my people, the guys around me and gals around me in the cubicle heaven. This is our stuff. This is where we do the work. Now, there's another template called a communication site template. One thing to know is that this is where you're going to, as you see on it, just to showcase the work. This is where when you've created the work, you put it out there for others to see. Now, there's a lot of differences. You probably see the bottom bullets on the both of them. One says connected to an Office 365 group, usually, and I'll explain that. And then the communication site says it's not connected to Office 365 group. What we want to take away from this one slide, team sites are restricted to those that are invited. Communication sites are built for everyone to come in and see. Good example would be HR, right? We shouldn't have a restricted HR site. If we need to go in and take a look at benefits, we need to talk about payroll or any other type of stuff. It shouldn't be access denied. So your communication sites are built with that broad audience in mind. So here's a couple examples of the SharePoint communication site. Remember that broad audience, right? There are 3 templates. Okay, if in case you're still taking notes, there is a showcase. Okay, there is a showcase template. There is a blank, which is not displayed on here because there was really no need to show a blank screen. And then there's the topic. You see how they come out of the box. Actually, let me turn my little pointer on, and hopefully can you see my pointer, Karen?
Yes, I could see
Okay,
it.
cool. So you see we have different templates, and right out of the box, these sites are built exactly as you see them with different web parts and different layouts, which of course you as the owners of these sites will have the ability to edit and modify and make it fit your needs. Okay, so you see some examples for communication sites, things like governance. Yeah, everybody needs to know what can and can't we do. Okay, maybe training. Wonderful site for training. Hey, everybody come in and get your Microsoft 365 training. Come in and get your Power BI training. All of those types of things shouldn't be locked down. Once again, a communication site built for everyone in mind. Then on the other side is that team site. This is where I just need, hey, we are just the group that handles marketing, or we're just the SharePoint team. We don't need everybody in the company coming in. So we're going to build a team site. Team sites by default are created private. So that Office 365 group that gets created behind the scenes, only the people that are added when you're creating the site have access. Your SharePoint admins like Rodney and Karen, they can't get in to your site unless you invite them or if there's some kind of catastrophe and say, oh my gosh, we blew up the permissions, Karen, we can't get into our own site. Karen and Rodney can go into the SharePoint Admin Center and grant themselves rights so they can help you with permissions. But by default, those team sites are created private, meaning only the people that have access can see the information in there. Now, talks here a little bit about what do you mean by not all team sites are the same? Remember, I was mentioning that when a team site is created with that Office 365 group on the back end. I'm going to cover groups a little bit more a little later on to help you understand what that truly means. Now, some sites can be built without a group. When you build a site with a group, you get other benefits. Okay, it's considered like a gym membership. When you go to a gym and you buy membership, you're not only restricted to the weight room or you can only use the sauna. No, you can hit the gym, you can shoot baskets, you can go to take one of my Zumba classes, whatever it is you choose to do, you have that membership. Well, that's what Office 365 groups do for you as well. If we take that SharePoint site and we extend it to Microsoft Teams, well, then I automatically have access. And guess what? Because it has a group, I also get a mailbox and calendar for that group. So previously, we used to have to ask the Exchange admins to build me a mailbox. We used to have the SharePoint admins to give me access. We'd have to have maybe a Skype admin to give me access to talk in Skype or Teams. Not anymore. But there are sites that can say, hey, we don't need all the bells and whistles. I just need a site to do a couple little things. We don't need that group connection. If that's the case, then you would contact your SharePoint admins and say, hey, build me a non-group connected site because we just need to do this. We don't need all the other fanfare that comes with it. Okay. Now, we are also going to talk about some these team sites. Remember, we were just mentioning that not all team sites are the same. There are group connected and there are not group connected. But there's also modern, which is where the entire state of North Carolina is going directly to and nothing but modern. Classic SharePoint sites, as you can see, I got images. It's not recommended. I tell folks, and I try to convince every customer, listen, Classic has COVID, right? If you know something has COVID, we're staying away. It's the same thing we need to do with SharePoint Online. Why? Because Microsoft is not investing in anything regarding Classic. It is how it is, and we are not going to make it better. We're not going to make it have this other feature or that capability. It is what it is until Microsoft decides to retire it for good. So that's one of the main reasons why we kind of stay away from Classic. It's also not a responsive design.
Hang
and I'm
on
going to
just
cover
a second,
that.
please.
Yes, sir.
Did
Was that a
someone have a question?
Sir, I heard somebody. Somebody said, just a second, please. Can you come off of mute again? All right, Karen, maybe you monitor the chat. Maybe he did not want to, maybe it was a mistake off of mute.
Okay.
No problem. So we'll go ahead and continue. So we talked about those modern team sites. Everything that your state of North Carolina guys and gals are building, it's all modern. Why? Because it's responsive. We have it group connected or not, okay, but it's created by your SharePoint admins. Now, Classic is the way it is, and it's just, I will show you a little bit later on some of the differences and the advantages of being modern versus Classic. And of course, there's group connected sites. If you need a group connected site, to have those additional benefits, such as a group calendar, we want to have Teams, we want to have Yammer and Planner and Stream and all those neat, cool bells and whistles, then yes, we want to be group connected. Because Microsoft Teams does not and cannot function without an Office 365 group. Talk more about that a little bit later on, I promise. So let's talk about site collections. What exactly is a site collection and what does it come from and what's the benefit of it? Okay, your SharePoint sites, every site that you go to is considered a site collection because it's going to be a root site collection. It'll be a top level site collection, which means it could contain child sites and grandchildren sites. But I am here to tell you, we are very, very, very opposed to going to that hierarchy site structure. It's not considered a Microsoft best practice, and it has some definite downfalls. And I'll give you a quick little example. If I have a site collection with 2 child sites, okay, there's subsites, however you want to call them, a child site, and each one of those 2 child sites have 2 grandchildren sites. So now we have a total of 7 sites within that one site collection. If there was a problem with, let's say, grandchild site number 7, somebody uploaded something with malware and now all the files are all messed up. When a ticket is open with Microsoft to restore, we restore the content database for that site collection. What does that mean, Greg? Well, that means that not just the grandchild site number 7, but the other grandchildren, the children, and the parent are going to lose about a half a day to a day's worth of data, all because that one grandchild site ended up with some corrupt data. What we're trying to get out of this particular slide here, or what we're talking about, is keep a flat architecture. Okay, Magellan said the world was round, but we contradict him when it comes to the SharePoint world. The SharePoint world is flat. We're going back to the flat world in SharePoint. Okay. So here's some of the things that we talked about. If this is enabled, and I don't recall, Karen, you can help me, or maybe Rodney has the answer to this, but I know he's not here with us at the moment. Are subsite creations allowed in your environment?
No, they currently are not.
Okay. Well, I'm giving you my virtual high five, and I'm glad you're not, because it prevents those site owners from building subsites and grandchildren sites and so forth. And if something were to go not well, a whole lot of other folks and a whole lot of other sites are losing data. Okay. So let me kind of breeze through this. If we do create, if it was enabled, these are some of the things that you have to consider. Am I going to build a subsite? Why do I really need a subsite? And I guarantee you guys, if you ask Karen and Rodney, they're going to be like, why do you need one? What is the benefit? Why can't you do what you need to do in that one site collection instead of child sites? Okay. So they'll ask and interview you to see if the justification is legit, if it's really, really worth it. But the state has embraced Microsoft's best practice and going into that flat architecture. Instead of having a parent site, 2 children site, a couple of grandchildren site, or even more great grandchildren site, and having that hierarchy organizational structure of a site it's just not the best way to go. Not anymore. We are trying to get everyone to make their own site collection, and every site collection gets its own content database. So if something goes bad, then we just restore that one site. Okay. So here's where we were going to talk about, and I'm going to demo briefly for you. It's called a tale of 2 user interfaces. Why we have the modern, which is responsive. That very first bullet there says responsive. It says adjusts to your device. It adjusts to whatever pixels are looking at that site. You can go anywhere from a giant Surface, from Microsoft, all the way down to an iPhone 5. Now, if you know anyone that still has an iPhone 5, they're teeny tiny, man. I think my wallet is bigger than an iPhone 5. But your SharePoint Online sites can adjust all the way down to 320 pixels, and it does it dynamically. And then you see the contradiction on the Classic. Remember, Classic has COVID. It is absolutely not responsive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my slides because that's almost the end. Well, let me go ahead and do a quick little pop quiz, and anyone except you, Karen, can come off of mute and answer some questions. What are the 2 site templates that we can create in SharePoint Online?
Team site communication.
Someone had it right with team site and communication. Modern and classic are the interfaces, but yes, so I'll even give you a yes on that as well. So which SharePoint user interface is responsive?
The modern site.
Yeah, don't be shy. Absolutely. Shout out the answers, man. Right. So I'm going to ask for any kind of answers on here because there could be a couple. Okay. What is the difference between a site collection and an individual website?
Site collection is invitation.
I can see where you're going with that. Let me pull these up because it's a little bit more difficult. Remember, we talked that site collection can contain subsites and so forth, where a website is just a subsite. Okay, we don't really, and thankfully in the state of North Carolina, we have that kind of turned off, so that's okay.
Yeah.
So let me do this. Let me stop sharing that, and I'm going to share my whole screen now because I'm going to pull up my SharePoint environment. I'm going to log into my tenant here. This is a modern SharePoint site. Okay, it's a modern team site. I got a bunch of stuff on here, including my son doing his jujitsu video from YouTube and just a whole lot of stuff. Okay, this is a modern site. I believe I know the address to one of my classics. I'm about to find out if I do. Survey says no. No sweat. I'll find it. Give me 1 second here. All right, classic SharePoint site. Now, what I want to show you is the difference in the responsiveness of the user interface. This is a modern team site. You see the site called 5 ones, right? 111111. This is a site I use like 8 million times a year to demonstrate to my customers. So it's a lot of junk. There's a lot of good stuff. Just whatever. This is a site I break all the time. So as you can see, I'm pretty much looking at it almost full screen, right? I see I got 4 documents across. I've got my quick launch navigation over here. I've got some more, quick links down here. I've got some images and some videos. See, a lot of good stuff. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out of full screen mode and I'm going to say, hey, you know what? Let's simulate my laptop died and I'm going to go ahead and access this site via my tablet. Now notice what happens. Instead of going all the way 4 across, now I went 2 across and brought those things down. The rest of it lined up nice and neat. But same thing. Now my tablet dies and I'm like, oh, I got to continue on my SharePoint site with my cell phone. Shoop. Now I'm looking at this site as I would on a cell phone. Notice
Hey,
how what it
Greg,
did. Yes.
we've got a question.
Okay.
Christine Lawson is saying, I don't understand what a site collection is. Never heard of the term before today.
Okay. So a site collection, and I had it in my slides, and I apologize if I went a little bit quick on it. The site collection originally was known for having a collection of other sites, child sites, grandchildren sites, but that one top site was considered the site collection. The term is still used, although in the state of North Carolina, we are not allowing subsites. So you can't have subsites and grandchildren sites and so forth. Wouldn't be a collection of sites, but it's just the one site. Does that help?
So essentially, a site collection is a AKA subsite.
No, subsite is a term we don't want to use anymore, but good question. A site collection is just that. It is a site, a top level site. It will not be a sub-site. A sub-site means it's beneath the top one in the hierarchy structure.
Is it similar to a hub site? For example, a communication site for an agency might be a hub, and then sites underneath that would be part of the site collection?
No,
Okay.
So what we want to do, and I turned on my camera because I'll draw on the screen behind me on the whiteboard behind me. Maybe that'll help explain. So give me 1 second. Let me grab a marker. All right, cool. So you can see that is your site collect. Can you see the green or is it too far?
Too far.
Maybe, hold on. I don't know if it was too bright because, oh, now you probably can't see it. I need a darker color. Oh, great. Black doesn't work. All right, are we able to see that a little bit better? Let me close these blinds. That might help. Okay, are you able to see this a little bit better now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so apologizing. I got to thank my wife. She's helping me with my with pulling down the blinds for me here in the office. So a site originally a site collection was a top level site, and it would have a child site. Okay, child site, child site. This is considered a site collection. 1, 2, 3 sites is a collection of sites. It can go, it used to go further with multiple children and then grandchildren. But that scenario that I presented earlier, what if this site ended up getting corrupted data or somebody uploaded something with malware? When you call Microsoft, we restore that because all of that is in one content database. We can't just say restore that grandchild site. So what would happen is every single one of these sites would lose about a half a day to a day's worth of data. But if we had adopted the flat architecture and we had all these other site collections and this one got corrupted, then we just restored that one and everyone else is still okay. Make sense? We cool?
So they're independent.
Absolutely. And we want them to be. Now, does that mean, and Karen brought up the terms earlier, does that mean they can't be associated to a hub site? No, absolutely. And we encourage hub sites. And we're going to cover, I promise you, I'm going to cover hub sites a lot more in depth for you to help you understand what a hub site does. And I'll even do the drawings if we need to. Have no problem with doing the drawings again if we need to do it at that time as well. All right, cool. Okay, well, thank you for letting me do some drawing. I haven't done that in a while. And okay, so back to my slides. Here we go. Not to my slides, but to my demonstration. So we're still looking at that modern site collection. So notice what happened. I went down as small as my browser can go. Let's say I'm simulating looking at on an iPhone 12 or whatever. But notice how everything just lines up beautifully, nice and neat for me. Now, what happened to that left nav? Your quick launch. It's still there. It's right there, just as if you go to the Olive Garden website and you click on that 3 lines and then you look at the menu. Absolutely does the same thing. So now let's simulate the exact same thing though. Oops, let's not do that one. Let me go like this. I want to do the same exact simulation, but with a classic site. Okay, this is classic for any of you who've ever worked in SharePoint before, SharePoint 2010, 13, 16, this is what it looks like. Okay, still have my quick launch over there. I've got some web parts that do things. I got a document web part here, newsfeed. I've got some tiles that I didn't throw a lot on this website, only because I use it really for just demonstration as to why Classic has COVID, and we need to avoid it as much as possible. So here I am, I'm working on this SharePoint site. My laptop battery dies. I switch over to my tablet. Okay, I got a little adjustment. That's still okay. I still got to scroll just a little bit, but then my tablet dies. I go down to my cell phone. Now I'm looking at this site on a cell phone. Now, that is not responsive to the size of pixels. Notice this quick launch or left navigation over here is still taking up a good 30-something% of my pixel screen that I really could use instead of automatically hiding it like it does on the modern. And none of these things line up nice and straight in a row for me. So I have to scroll left, scroll right. This is not a nice design when it comes to your mobile devices. Oops. All right. So that was just a quick demonstration of how the modern versus classic responsive design, which is why we kind of promote that classic has COVID. Stay away from it. It's not, there's so many other things that don't let you do in the classic that you can do, such as, and you may have heard the terms, things like Power Apps, Power Automate, and Flow. Can't do any of those things with the modern, with the classic. Let me actually bring those screens back up one more time. Another thing, looking at the modern design, I can jump into a document library right here. One of the neat things is, yes, I have the ability to integrate here things with like Power Apps, Power Automate. I can even visualize this in Power BI. Don't have that functionality in Classic. One of the other features that I like is, hey, maybe I don't want to look at the modified. I want to stick that way over here. I can just drag and drop columns. I can expand columns as wide or as narrow as I need on the fly. And lastly is, boom, I can look at this document library in full screen. Now let's go to a classic site. What can I do? Oh, there's my classic, sorry. So here's the classic. I can't stretch the columns wide or narrow. I don't have that option. I don't have the option to, well, I can't integrate it with Power Apps. I don't have the ability to maximize it on the screen either. Classic is just the way it is, and we're not investing any time or money or efforts to make it better. Everything's in the modern UI. Just go modern. All right. Thank you, Michelle, for answering that. Let me pop into our next slides. Oh, that was the one I just did. And I'm going to share again. All right. We're going to talk about groups. I know I mentioned it briefly. I really want to make sure when I'm done these 12 or 13 slides that you really understand groups and what they're for. Also, you have to think, do I need a group or not? Okay, so those are some of the decisions when you're asking, hey, can I get a SharePoint site? Do you need that group or not? And we're going to talk a little bit about how we create those, where they can, let me make sure I phrase this properly, where they can normally be created. It all depends on how the state has adjusted things, okay? So let's talk a little bit about how that group was. Remember I gave you the analogy a little while ago. It's like a membership to a gym. You go in and you can use all the facilities, the weight room, the pool, the sauna, spin class, Zumba, personal trainer, all those things come with the membership. That's exactly what your group membership does. So notice what you see on the right-hand side. I can have a shared mailbox and calendar in exchange. Maybe I want to take it out to Yammer and create some great conversations. I don't think Yammer's enabled in the state of North Carolina, so I'm going to kind of breeze past that. But maybe I want to have those conversations in Teams and have meetings inside of Teams. I want to post files in SharePoint. And then, maybe let's expand it over to in a planner. And hey, I've got a planner. I want to make sure everyone that's on my team will have access. I can assign them tasks and they can mark them complete or in progress and give me status updates. That's what we want. And the benefit of having a group connected site. It gives you the keys to your group kingdom. Okay, it gives you the ability to go back and forth. Previously, we used to have to ask the SharePoint admins to do something, the Exchange admins to do something else, this admin to do that. Now we don't. You get a site collection that is group connected. You're the owner. You can add and remove whomever you want. That is an advantage of having those group connected sites. When you become an owner, say, hey, I need a SharePoint site with a group, you become the owner. You're the gatekeeper. You add and remove whomever, including promoting somebody to owner. One of the things I can't stress enough is every group should have at least 2 owners. Okay, the whole turnip truck adage, or somebody just says, hey, you know what? I've had enough. I'm retiring. If that one person was the owner of all these groups, that group becomes orphaned. Now nobody can add anybody else. Whereas if we have at least 2 owners, okay, you have a little better chances of making sure someone can manage the group as well. So how do we create groups? And there's lots of places. Okay, in Microsoft here for us, obviously we have the ability to create groups anywhere we want. We can create it on the SharePoint homepage. We can create a group in Outlook. We can create a group in Yammer, in Planner, in Stream, in Teams, all of the places that you're able to create groups. In the state of North Carolina, you have to ask, because what they've done is they've kind of not taken that ability, or not saying that they're not empowering you. They have disabled that capability for now while they put up the appropriate guardrails. Things like, for example, expiration policies on groups. What if everybody could create a group, and they do, but they do nothing with it? It's taking up quite a bit of resources, because when a group is created, here's what I'm going to show you. When a group is created, things behind it always happen. One, the group is created in Azure Active Directory. Azure Active Directory is your authentication method. When you're logging into SharePoint Online or to Teams or to OneDrive, Azure says, who are you? Oh, I know who you are. And because I know who you are and you exist in our Azure, here are your licenses that allows you to do different things. If I'm licensed for Office, guess what? Here's all Office. Licensed for SharePoint. Good. Now you can go to SharePoint and OneDrive, and you're licensed for this, licensed for that. Perfect. Azure is the front door that says, hey, who are you? Oh, I know who you are. Come on in. Then it's the substrates behind it based on licensing allows you to get to certain things. So what does that have to do with groups? When a group is created, a shared mailbox is created every single time. So you have a shared mailbox and calendar, a group calendar. Now everybody can know who's going on vacation, or we have a recurring Friday, a team scrum on Friday 9 a.m. Those are important to post in that group calendar. Right? We also get a SharePoint site every time a group is created. Every single time a group is created, and wherever it's created, you get a SharePoint site. Why? Because we have to hold the files that are going to be associated to that group, whether it's done in Teams, whether it's done on the SharePoint site, whether it's done in Yammer, in Planner, in Stream, wherever, you have to have SharePoint to host the files. So now we know shared mailbox and calendar and Exchange, SharePoint site. What else? Well, that group, I told you the group is created in Azure also. That Azure Active Directory, that is that front door. When that group is created and you're made the owner, who you add now gives those users the ability to get to that shared mailbox and calendar, that SharePoint site, the Stream, the Yammer, the Planner, the Stream, the Teams, whatever, by virtue of membership to that group. Okay. So this is kind of going in an example of how to create a group in Outlook. In Outlook, you could too. If you right-clicked on groups, there would be an option to create a group. Remember, when a group is created, 4 things always happen. The group is created in Azure Active Directory, number 1. The mailbox, the calendar, 2 and 3, created in Exchange. And number 4, the SharePoint site. Right? Once again, number 1, Azure Active Directory, the group is created in Azure. Shared mailbox and calendar is created in Exchange, and the SharePoint site is created in SharePoint Online. Those 4 things happen every single time a group is created. Every single time. Whether you create it from Outlook, whether you create it from Planner, whether you create it from Stream or SharePoint, wherever it is that group is created from, those 4 things always happen. But remember, as being a member of that group, I can get to that shared mailbox and calendar in Exchange. I can also slide into Planner and update the tasks that I was assigned to do. Okay. Oh, and maybe, hey, I need to put files into SharePoint. Absolutely. Because I have membership, I don't have to ask the SharePoint team for permissions. I don't have to ask the Exchange team for permissions to the mailbox. It's automatically created and automatically granted. Okay. Now, if you created a site or asked Rodney and them, because you all don't have the ability to create sites, but if you created or you ask, the SharePoint team, hey, can you build me a SharePoint Online site? But I don't need a group. We just need to do our thing and we're just going to do it for a little while. But maybe that plan changes. Maybe you just realize, it would really benefit to have that shared mailbox and calendar. And we want to maybe have a team because we want to have meetings, we want to have collaboration, we want to have different channels within teams to keep our discussions about this particular topic separated. Then that also can happen. When you create a modern site that is not group connected, you can connect it to a group or ask the SharePoint team or the administrators, build me a team and connect my site to it because we need to have the additional capabilities of, we need that group. We want the mailbox and calendar, we want the team, we want the planner to stream, all that neat stuff that comes with membership. All right, pop quiz. What apps are part of groups? So I kind of mentioned this one. Where can we create a group?
Yammer.
I'm sorry?
Yammer.
Absolutely. There's one.
Outlook, Planner,
Yes.
SharePoint, and Teams.
Hot diggity, man. Gold star. Yes, you knocked them all out of the park. I didn't put themes on here. I'm not sure why. But yes, all of the above. You can create those groups. So normally, who creates groups?
Site administrator.
Normally, depending on your organization, right now in the state of North Carolina, only the admins, so SharePoint admins, Exchange admin, Yammer, all of those admins are the only ones right now that can create groups. Eventually, and this is part of our job with Microsoft, is to educate your administrators to put up the appropriate safety measures, right? I mean, we're the state, man. We've got a lot of sensitive stuff. What we don't need is a disgruntled employee, all ticked off on a Friday afternoon and shares a whole bunch of really personal data to the Channel 8 News. Not cool. So we want to make sure we have the appropriate guardrails to protect your data, especially sensitive data. Make sure it can't be shared externally. Make sure we have things like group expiration policies. If we allow everyone in the state to create groups, which is not a problem, but if you don't do anything with that group, it could just sit there forever. Or we put in that expiration policy that says, all right, after 6 months, this group will be deleted. And that's 6 months of inactivity. Meaning today's Friday. I build a group. If I don't do anything with it for the whole weekend, my clock is ticking. Now, 6 months and a year are the default expiration policy timeframes. Let's say I do nothing with it. I create the group, I get the shared mailbox and calendar, I get the Azure group, I get my SharePoint site. I do nothing with it. I don't post in SharePoint, upload a file. I don't post any appointments in the calendar. My clock is ticking. At 5 months, exactly 30 days to whenever that 6 months is from today, I'm going to get an email that says, hey, Greg, you built this group forever ago. You haven't used it. It's set to expire in 30 days. What do you want to do? It gives me a nice big blue button that says renew it now. My clock restarts. I wish personally, and this is just a Gregism, I wish it, because if you continue reading in small little letters down there, or you could delete it now. I want a big red button next to the blue button that says renew or delete, but that's just me. It would be nice if you look at it, oh yeah, I built that. That was a test. Oops, delete. That would be great. Now, if I choose to ignore that email, that 30-day notice, I'll get another one 15 days later saying, hey, Greg, just another reminder, 15 days, we're deleting this group and everything associated with it. That means mailbox, calendar, SharePoint site, team, Yammer, stream, planner, everything that it's associated with it. And because it has not been used, we're going to delete in 15 days. I can either renew, again, look for the small little link that says, or delete it now. Once again, I choose to ignore it. I'm going to get one more email the day prior to its expiration. It says, seriously, Greg, you've ignored us, man. We got one more day, man. If you don't do renew now, we're deleting tomorrow. Comes tomorrow, they delete everything. Now, it can be restored before 93 days because that's everything goes into a recycle bin for up to a total max time of 93 days. But I don't want to get to that point. Like I said, I would like to have the big red button that says just delete it now. But until that gets implemented and other things like that gets implemented into the state, because there's not only just that, there's retention policies. There could be state and regulatory requirements that require you to keep that SharePoint data. See what I'm saying? So there's a lot of other moving pieces that's going to determine on when the state will be able to allow you, all users, to create groups on the fly. Just got to get things lined up beforehand. Okay. One more quick question. What are the group privacy options? Now, I think I mentioned it once, but I got to see if someone was really paying attention. I'll give you a double gold star if you get it. All right, that was on me. There are two options, public and private. By default, when a group is created or a SharePoint site is created, it's created private and only the people that are added have access. Remember, the SharePoint admins don't have access. Nobody has access except for those who are added, but they can be created as public. Cool. All right, I got about 5 minutes till. We've gotten almost at the top of the hour. I would love to field any questions if we have some right now. If not, let's take a break and come back at 5 after. Is that okay? Awesome.
I think
Right.
that works.
Thank you, Karen. I'll see you guys at 5 after. Okay. We have 5 after. Oh, I like the picture of Tim Rayworth. Has a picture of him and his dog. I like dogs. And Brent, your picture of the palm trees, man, that looks like it's my backyard, man. I like your picture as well.
I envy you, Greg, if that's what your backyard looks like.
Well, I mean, if I could take, maybe before the end of the day, I'll show you what my view is. I see the highway, but to the left and the right is nothing but water and palm trees. So that's my view today. My backyard has palm trees, but has my pool.
Wow.
All righty, so we're going to continue. Okay, we're going to kind of talk a little bit about what are your responsibilities as a site collection admins. And remember, we kind of covered what a site collection is now. It's basically a site. I know it's just Microsoft's term calling a site collection because we did have the capability to have multiple sites within that site collection. So I saw in the chat earlier, someone says, I don't understand what goes in those boxes. They would be individual sites. Those boxes, when I was drawing the architecture up on the screen, I had my top level site collection, and there could be separate document libraries, separate lists, just data for that particular site. If I build a child site, that now contains its own separate data, files and list data, and so forth and so forth. And it just can get really deep and nested and just really becomes a problem, especially when it comes to restoring. But as you guys now are going to be these site collection admins or group owners, kind of understand what some of your responsibilities are. There are, remembering back to the Spider-Man days, with great power comes great responsibility. You're an owner. What does that come with? So let's take a look. So we talked about the 3 different team sites, right? There was the group connected, the modern, and the classic. That group connected could also be a not group connected, as we have in the second option there. So we have those 3 types of sites, but they all come with functionality and capabilities. Now we're really going to try to focus away from the classic stuff, just because, remember, we're really promoting modern use because you have the advantages to take things like Power Apps, Power Automate, Flow, have it do really cool things that the classic sites cannot do for you. So, not a big fan of this particular color, but the site administration for group connected sites, which is the majority of your sites in the state of North Carolina, are group connected team sites. As a group owner, so I gave the name Jim. I was looking at, hey Jim, this is your site. You asked for it. You're the owner. Okay, as an owner, there are a couple of other things that come with it. So now, as you can see, since I have a group, I can extend it out to teams if I needed to. I can extend it out to Planner to stream all of those capabilities. As a group owner, I can do that. And I need to add Sally and Ralph and Tom and Giuseppe. They're all coming into my site. I'm going to make these 2 owners and these 2 members. Awesome. You have that power. You add and you extend to the other services that are available to you. Okay. So where do we get to this? Where do I, now I'm an owner, thank you for the site, DIT, thanks for giving me a site. What do I do? How do I manage permissions? How do I know what it is I've got to do? Guys, I'm going to point out one thing to you. Whenever you're looking at a SharePoint site, the gear or the Spacely Sprocket, for those of us who remember who Spacely Sprocket was, in the upper right-hand corner is the gear to everything you need to do. Okay, there's going to be options like adding a page. I want to add an app. Site contents, I want to see all the lists and libraries within my site. But site information for this particular module of today's class, will bring up another panel here. If I go into the site info, maybe it was built, I didn't like how my title. I want to change the aesthetics to my title. Okay, rename it. Doesn't change your URL, just changes the display of your site. I can put in a nice little group description, as well as I can change it from private to public or back to private, whichever option I choose. these, as the site owner, you have the ability to do. Okay, and it's going to be so many more. So don't think like, oh, well, that's easy, I can do that. There's going to be a lot more, but I just want you to kind of understand the site information panel. They're going to be adding so many more things to this gear and inside of here. But focus on this little link down here to view all site settings. You as the site admins are going to have the ability to make more, to have a lot more functionality and features that you can do. So I know what this next slide says. It shows a classic settings page. Does not mean your site is classic. It's just going to bring up the classic page, which Microsoft is working on improving a little bit more and more. They're going to add inside of this site information panel. So let me bring up my slide, my site again, so we can kind of see all of that. I'm going to go back to the modern site. Oops, I didn't mean to go that far. That's my root. So here's that modern site I was showing you. When my gear shows up here, it always takes a couple seconds. There we go. These are the capabilities that I can do. We were looking at site information. I can change it from private to public. Now notice what it says.
Greg, we're
Anyone,
still seeing your PowerPoint.
it hasn't advanced. Oh, you know what? It's because I'm only sharing my PowerPoint. My apologies. So let me share my screen now. Thank you for pointing that out. Apparently I'm new to Microsoft Teams. So here I am. I'm on the SharePoint site now. And here is the gear. The gear is where you all as the site owners can do a lot of things. Okay, we were looking at on our SharePoint, in the PowerPoint, we were looking at the site information. Here's that site info panel. I can change the aesthetics name of it, like Greg's demo site. If I save it, it'll change it to Greg's demo site. My URL still stays the same, but just my title was changed. So that was in the site information. I can put in a better description. Oh, why did it not keep it there? It's probably because I didn't refresh. Let me refresh. Boop. One quick second. There's Greg's demo site. I can put my demo site description here. Okay. Also, we talked earlier, kind of dipped our toes into the hub sites. I'm going to cover hub sites a little bit more later on. So for now, I'm going to skip. These are all the hub sites in my environment. Privacy settings I can change. Now, what it was showing you on the PowerPoint was the view all site settings. I call it the classic page because, hey, this is the way it has been since, well, for 10, 12 years now in this classic look. But I can do a lot of things inside of here, such as changing the look, the navigation elements. You know, maybe I don't like the quick launch. I can hide it right there. I just say, okay, and guess what? My whole left nav over here will go away. Now it just gives me this tree view. That's part of navigation. I can turn that off too. I can modify it if I needed to. So there's a lot of functionality within this is called your classic site settings page, right? Just because it's not modern yet, but there's a lot of capabilities that you're going to be able to do inside of here as the site owners. Site owners get site collection administrator. Okay, group owners are your site collection admins. If I wasn't a group owner, I wouldn't see this whole section right here. It would be hidden from me completely. Okay, so let's go back to PowerPoint. Let me do this the right way. All right, so that classic site settings page was what I was just showing you. So you can see all of that information where you could see things like, hey, I need to restore files that have been deleted for 50 something days. Oh, by now it's in the second stage recyclement. And as a group owner, I can go in there and restore it. Okay. There was a great question earlier in the chat about, hey, what if we have to keep things for, whatever the regulatory requirement is for 7 years? Great. People can still delete all they want. It will go into their recycle bin. After 30 days, it'll go to the second stage recycle bin for an additional 63 days. After that, it goes into a hidden library called the Preservation Hold Library, and you cannot delete from it if the site has a retention policy. So if the retention policy was 7 years, I can't delete anything from that site for 7 years. Well, it could stay out there forever. But once it's deleted, it cannot be deleted until after 7 years after deletion. So if I delete it today, what is today's date? February 24th, 2023. In February 24th, 2031, I had to do the math, 2031, then I can delete it from the preservation hold library. And only then. If the retention policy, now this is going a little bit way beyond end user training for you guys, but I just want to explain it to help you kind of understand it, to give you that sense of, okay, our stuff is safe. Okay. When your admins create these retention policies based on regulatory, state, judicial, whatever the regulation is that says this stuff needs to be kept for 7 years, they create the retention policy. Then they tell it what to do. They could have the option to say, after 7 years from when it was deleted, delete it permanently. Or after 7 years, do nothing. So it's still being kept. So your data is still preserved forever until someone goes, oh, it's been over 7 years. Let's say that was the retention policy, and we can clear this stuff out. Okay. But remember also, if it's not deleted, your preservation hold library has nothing to do with it. It just stays in your SharePoint site until somebody deletes. Then it goes through the 2 stages of the recycle bin, then to the preservation hold library for the duration of your retention policy. So really the retention policy only comes into play when somebody deletes. And then it says, okay, we have a hold on this. I'm going to hold it for 7 years and then do what? That all depends on what your admins have configured. That's, by the way, this is not your SharePoint admin function. Your SharePoint Online admins do not have the ability to create retention policies. That's your security admins. That's your compliance admins. They are the ones that put in those retention policies based on your requirements. If you say these are, legal documents and we have to keep them for 10 years, then they will assign a 10-year retention policy to your site collections. All of these sites, we're keeping everything for 10 years. But remember, that only goes into effect when somebody deletes. Otherwise, if it just stays on SharePoint, it stays on SharePoint for 15, 20, 30 years. Doesn't really matter until somebody deletes. Then it'll start clicking the time based on the retention policy. All right, continuing on in looking at some of those classic site settings as in a group site. Okay, you'll see that there's all these kind of functionalities. I touched base on 1 or 2 of them. I would hope that, and I think Rodney and Karen are working on having a secondary follow-on class to this to take you guys into what's called the SharePoint Online power user class that I have. I have to tailor it because a lot of it, the first couple of hours is going over the same stuff that you've learned in this one. So I've got to tweak that class a little bit better to just kind of continue from where we left on and add some more functionality and capabilities. But we're going to talk in that particular class into things like site columns and content types. And what does that mean, Greg? That is on our next class. Okay, I definitely want to make sure if I believe Rodney and them have already kind of mentioned it out there. We just haven't set the date for the power user workshop. I would love for you guys to come back and say, okay, I've got Greg's first class. I'm ready for Greg's second class. I want to know things like Power Apps, Power Automate. How do I use reusable content? How do I get dynamic virtual folders? I'm here to tell you guys, folders are a bad thing for you, man. They really are. But people do it. Folders upon subfolders upon subfolders and so forth and so forth and so forth. And it makes organizational sense to you, but it's not indexed properly. It's slower to find that information. Okay. So, but we'll talk about that more in the Power User Workshop, and I hope you guys get the chance to come back to that as well. One other option we have is site usage. As you guys, remember, we made you, Jim, the owner of this particular site collection. You're the owner of the group. You can add and remove whomever you want. Maybe Jim wants to say, well, thank you, but is my team using my site? I mean, we built it and I told them all to come out and start. I don't see very many files. Who's been the most active person in my site? You have, now this is not web trends. It's not true web analytics, okay? It's just really kind of generic information, but we are capturing who, what IP, what operating system, and what browsers are accessing your site. And as site owners, you can go and see, hey, who's been here the most the last 7 days? Who's been here the most the last 30 days? I can see Bill is heavily invested in my site. Thanks for using the stuff that we put out there for you, Bill. That's what these are for. But like I said, it's not, hey, how long did Bill actually stay on your site? Was he working in this library for 13 minutes or 2? No, we don't have that true web analytics. Okay, that's not Microsoft's game. There are other third-party companies that out there that do that, and they do it very, very well. That it's just not something we focus on. Recycle bin, mentioned that just a little while ago. We were talking about retention. I love talking retention, but remember, retention always wins above deletion. So that first stage recycle bin is everybody's personal recycle bin. As the owner of the site, Jim has the ability to see into everybody's recycle bin on that site collection. On that site that, somebody deleted some stuff, I can go ahead and restore it. Sarah deleted some files and then went on maternity leave. It was an inadvertent deletion, but hey, Jim can go and say, restore, we got him back. Even though Sarah's going to be out for the next 4 months on maternity leave. No sweat, we got him back. Right. Jim, as the owner, and as you guys have become site owners as well, will have the ability to look into others' recycle bins and restore as needed. After those first 30 days, it goes into what's called the second stage recycle bin, or the site collection admins. You guys as the owners are site collection admins. The data moves from that personal, from Sarah's recycle bin, into the second stage for the next 63 days. Only the site admins, site collection administrators, group owners, all interchangeable, have the ability to see inside that second stage recycle bin and restore from there. Okay, modern sites. So we're kind of looking at a modern site already, but definitely want to understand that though they are still a team site, whether it's a modern group connected, whether it's a modern not group connected, or even a classic SharePoint site, they all have functionality. They all have the same features and capabilities. Just certain things are enabled by default and certain things are not. For example, in the classic site, I don't have the capability to say, hey, I want to create a Power App based off of this document library. It's classic. I can't do it. But in the modern sites, yes, you can. So that's some of the things that you kind of want to make sure you focus on when you're looking at requesting a site from DIT, saying, hey, I need a site, group or not. Remember, Classic has COVID and we're all avoiding COVID like the plague right now. So let's just stay away from COVID. Excuse me, from Classic. But yeah, stay away from COVID too. You don't want to be sick from work. All right, so the site collection administrator role. Let me bring up all the animation. I apologize. I'm not a big fan of animation on slides. I just kind of like everything to pop up, but that's just me. So you all, as the group owner, are also the site collection administrator. what's really, really cool is a site collection admin can never be denied access. Okay. Remember the scenario of a site collection, the original scenario of a site collection. I have a parent site. Now let's just say simple. I got 2 child sites. You can break permissions on that child site and remove all sorts of permissions. But guess what? The site collection admin can still get in. So as the site collection admin, you can never be disallowed access to something. As a site collection admin, you have access to everything. Everything. These are some typical responsibilities as a site collection admin. Maybe somebody says, hey, you know, I heard that DIT put this new app out there and I think it'd be great. Can you add it to our site? That's the add-ins that we're looking at here. Okay, or hey, I'm sorry, I deleted this group and now we don't have access. Can you help me out? Remember, the site collection admin, aka group owner, can never be denied in his or her site collection. Right? So you handle things like user permissions, site collection, recyclement. Just mentioning that as a site collection admin, you can restore second stage items. Now I'm going to kind of briefly go over this here. This is site owner. Site owner is a little different than the site collection admin. Okay, they can perform acts as the site collection admin, but only on that one site. So remember, if we did allow subsites, which they don't, but if I can make, hey, you're a child site one owner, you can manage everything up to and including deleting subsite 1, but you can't touch my site collection up at the top. Okay? That's the differences between a site owner and a site collection admin. They can only manage on that specific site. And here's some of the things that regular site owners can do, as well as the site collection admins. Okay, there are certain things that they can do within that one specific site. Quick little thing here. Let me bring up all of these. Here we go. All right. Biggest takeaway from here, guys, is that your site collection admins can never be restricted or blocked or denied access to anything within that site. Okay. They both have full control, meaning they can manage permissions, they can remove permissions, they can delete the site as well. Okay. But notice what the site owners don't have. They don't have access to that site collection admin settings. Remember, I highlighted that long list of additional features and capabilities and functionality. Those are only available to the site collection admins. If they're not, then they can't. They won't even see that list of options. One too many. Sorry about it. Oops. Go back. All right. So your site settings page, we kind of remember everything starts with the gear. That gear icon, the spacely sprocket in the upper right-hand corner, is how we get to our site settings page. Go from there, we're going into the site information. And from there, we go into the site settings. Now, one thing to keep a note of, and this is one thing that SharePoint does, and it does very, very, very well, is security trimming. If you don't have access, you don't get it, period. And that applies to search. You can go in and say, hey, I'm looking for, ABC document. It exists on another site, but if you don't have access, it won't even show for you saying, hey, I've got this file, but you don't have access. No, it won't even show up as a search result. So everything in SharePoint is security trimmed based on what you do have access to. Okay. How to access the site settings. Once again, the gear, site info, and then view all site settings. Here I was mentioning earlier that the site collection admins can see that whole section versus the site owners. They can't. They see users and permissions, but they can't adjust and promote themselves. Notice that it says here, site collection admins, but it's not over here. They can't, I'm going to make myself a site collection admin. They don't have that functionality. Most of the other settings are pretty similar, but notice this entire section is missing from over here. They just don't even have access to it. Things like, where they can set up search schemas, they can look at the different settings or the different recycle bins. Just so we understand the kind of differences between site collection admins, aka group owners, versus a site owner. There we go. Some user permissioning. Notice what we can do, okay? Or as the site owners, this is where you manage who has access to what. You see, we're looking, I'm going to zoom in because it's kind of small down here. Boom, I'm zoom in here. We're looking at that gear. I can go into the site permissions as well, and I can invite folks. And that doesn't take me to that classic settings page. It takes me right there on that same page. Hey, I can add new owners. I can add new members. I can add new visitors. Absolutely. Very, very easily managed right there on the spot. Now, I was going to bring up my page, but then I know I've got to stop sharing and all that. So some of the things also as a site admin, site collection administrators, you have the ability to do different things as far as the design elements of your page. How do you want it to look? What themes do you want to apply to your environment? So site columns. I love site columns and site content types. As a site collection admin, you'll have that ability to manage these types of things. Creating a site column is a way to reuse data. And like I said, this more on the power user workshops. I'm going to kind of breeze past that, but we'll hope to see you guys when we do the power, if you do the power user class as well. You have the ability to manage the look and feel, okay, including things like the navigation. Remember, I was on that that look and feel area, and I said, hey, you know what? Don't show the quick launch. And that quick launch went away. Okay, so there's things like that as site collection admins, you have the ability. One of the neat things recently is they've now allowed it to take this left navigation and put it across the top. That's a pretty recent feature within the past 6-7 months that Microsoft enabled, giving you this real estate back. I like my pixel real estate because it's really important nowadays. I need to get more data on here, or more pictures, or more whatever it is that I need to get on here, but this is taking up space. Well, if I shove it across the top here very easily, hey, I've got that space back. Okay. In this quick launch area, when we were looking at that, you have the ability to edit it also as the group owner. Maybe you want to have special links to a different set of a different site or different library, whatever it is you choose. You can add additional links. You can even have a label. Let's say, for example, instead of making this a link, I can say, hey, I want this to be a label, and I'm going to add a label called sports. Then I'm going to, underneath my sports, I'm going to add links to my favorite websites in the whole wide world, to ESPN, to MLB, and to NFL. Awesome. I can add those as sublinks to that label. I'll show you how to do that once we finish this slide deck as well. Oh, one too many clicks here. Editing that top bar. I don't even know why they have this picture in here, because this is classic. So shame. But you do also have the ability to edit the top bar. Once we move that up to the top, I can add additional links up there as well. All right, site actions. There are capabilities as the owner that you can do. Hey, maybe I don't want people to do certain things, or I need a publishing feature enabled. As a site collection admin, you can turn on certain features, or if you turn on things and it doesn't work quite well, guess what? I can reset it. And lastly, I can even go and say, hey, you know what? We're done. We're not using this SharePoint stuff anymore. I can delete the entire site. Okay. How are we doing on questions? Anything in there so far, Karen?
We don't have anything recently. Michelle answered a question about the easiest way to figure out if a site is classic or modern.
Okay, cool. So going back into, part of the responsibilities of a site collection administrator, aka group owner, is you have the ability to modify the search experience for your users. Now, is it recommended? In my personal and professional opinion, no. We have a default enterprise search and it gives you everything you want that you have access to. But some people like to tailor it differently. Maybe they want that search experience to show, not only just files and people and sites, but maybe they want to have a specific column for just PowerPoints. They can create that. Anytime someone says, hey, I'm looking for the such and such deck, we all call it a PowerPoint deck nowadays anyway, but now they can do a vertical that can only display .pptx files, especially with the search term of deck. So there's a lot of options that you can do as far as a search, as a site collection admin when it comes to your search experience. Some additional site admin stuff, as you can see, maybe regional settings. Now, granted, we're all located in the state of North Carolina, so we're all East Coast. It's all great, Eastern Standard Time. Now, if you were a multinational, or at least a U.S.-based company with offices in San Francisco, one in Chicago, and there in Raleigh, well, now you can have different regional settings to have the times appropriate for them when they look at it, or even matching something like user alerts. Bob says he signed up for alerts, but now he doesn't want to get them. He doesn't know how to take care of it. You can go in and remove those alerts for Bob, or you can sign Bob up for alerts. You as the site admins have that capability to do that for your users. And as the site collection admins, aka group owners, you have a whole bunch of other things that you can manage as well, such as things like site policies. Hey, I want to know how much usage are my people. I can look at the storage metrics. Which library is just got tons of junk in it? Which one is not really being utilized? Those are the capabilities as group owners and site collection administrators you can do. Right? You can look at that information as well. The example here on the right-hand side is if we had a sub-site. Okay, granted, our slides have them in them because, well, it was a function, it was a feature, it was a capability, and is a feature and function capability within SharePoint Online. But a lot of states, and I mean a lot of states, you're not the only state I work with, a lot of states, organizations, companies, businesses, DoD, they disable that sub-site creation because they want that flat architecture. They really, really want that flat architecture. But if you had a child site, this is what the experience would look like when you're in that child site, when you're looking at the site settings. So I just wanted to give a quick little comparison. You'll notice that there's an option here that says, hey, man, if you want to go do some site collection stuff as a site collection admin, you can click there and it will take you to the top level site collection settings. All right, pop quiz. What is the interface where a site admin can modify settings for a site? Kind of knocking on the table there for you. The answer's in the question.
Site administrator.
Settings.
Site settings. You got it between the two of you. That's right. The site admin can get to those things via the site settings page. Can site collection administration settings be modified at any level subsite, aka subsites?
No.
That's right. I just showed it to you. You can only modify them at the top. Very good job. Will site owners have access to site collection admin settings?
No.
No.
That is correct. All three of you with the nose. Absolutely right. Can an individual site within a site collection have different regional settings? Didn't cover that So I'm going to go ahead and give you that one.
Yeah, that
But
can.
yes, absolutely. Right, exactly. So let's say we were a multi-state organization here, and we have, well, these are the East Coast sites, and I'm going to build some sites over here for my West Coast folks, and they can go Pacific Standard Time.
Mhm.
Awesome. That was it on that slide deck. We are doing great with time as well. Let's see what I got next. Ooh, now we're going to cover hubs. I know we got about 20 minutes. What time do you guys normally take for lunch? We'll try to go to 12. How about that? We'll go from 12 to say 12:45 and then pick it up after that. Is that okay with everyone?
I think that sounds good.
Yep. Thanks.
Awesome. All right. And you're still able to see my slide decks, yes? Big green.
Yep.
Okay, cool. We're going to talk about hub sites. Guys, I love to talk about hub sites, and there's only 9 slides and we're already on number 3. But I want to take our time. I really, really want you to understand why, or should you hubify? That's a Microsoft word, hubify a site. Okay, and what are the benefits of it? Okay, so you've heard me already say it enough times. Microsoft is pushing a flat site architecture. Why? It just makes sense. And also for the restore capabilities. So other users, other sites, other people are not being affected by something that might have just gone not so well. Now, have I seen sites get infected with malware? No. Have I seen people get corrupted data? Really, really rarely. But should it happen, I want to paint that worst case scenario. Hey, Microsoft, can you restore? Yep, but it's going to affect all the sites. Whereas if every site was its own site collection, it's its own database. I restore that database and only they are affected. Now, what can we do about hub sites? Well, only your SharePoint admins, the DIT folks, can create a hub site. But you guys, as the site admins or group owners, you can connect your site to any hub site. Okay, any hub site in your environment. If you're in the financial sector of it, you probably don't want to connect your site to the legal department's hub site, right? Because we're not really related. They're legal, we're finance, we separate. Let's have a finance hub site and then associate with that. So you all have the ability to connect to any hub site in your tenant that you have access to. So let me make sure I put that in there, that you have access to. If there's a Department of Revenue hub site out there, but you don't have permissions, you can't associate with that hub site. Still security trimmed, but if you have access to it, you definitely can connect. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up this next slide here. I know there's a lot of stuff on the screen, but I really want you to focus on this over here. EMEA, that is a Microsoft acronym for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So consider that slice of the earth. That's EMEA. Now, notice this site over here, sales. It's EMEA sales used to be under EMEA because it made sense. Okay, right? Hey, it's a Europe, Middle Eastern, and Africa sales site. We had it originally associated to the EMEA hub site, but we got a new president of sales that says, I want all sites that are sales related associated to this sales hub site. 1, 2, 3 clicks, and it's done. I now have moved from Europe, Middle East, and Africa over to the, let's say, US sales hub site. And it's that simple. Now, what happens when I do get associated to a hub site? Lots of pretty cool things. And I'm going to demo this for you on my tenant site as well. But the main benefit is that shared navigation. So going back to here, let's say this site collection, hub site, has a really cool menu and navigation for all of these things and other pretty neat that didn't exist over here. Once I click and I associate, I instantly inherit a few things. Number one is the navigation. Number two, I'll get the same theme, the same color scheme that's on that hub site. Now, those themes and those colors can't be changed. Once you associate, you can no longer go to teal or to purple or to yellow or to black and yellow. If you're a Steelers fan, you can't change your theme once you associate your site to a hub site. I'll show you what that means in a little bit here. So how do we do it? Guess what? Where do we start? In the Spacely Sprocket, guys. We're clicking the gear, and then we're going to site information. And remember, I showed you that hub was one of the options in my tenant. I got a whole bunch of hub sites. I can associate by clicking it, click save, I'm done. Now I inherit the menu, I inherit the theme. Greg, you've said that a couple of times. What does that mean? I'm going to show you right after our pop quiz. So what changes will hub association make for you? I just said it. Two things.
Theme.
Yes. That's one.
Navigation.
Yay, man, that's right. That's number two. You guys are on this, man. I love that you're paying attention and not sleeping on me. All right, who can associate hub sites to a hub?
Site administrator.
SharePoint administrators.
SharePoint administrator.
They can. Now, let's make sure we understand this. Associate any site owner. If you guys are a group owner, you want to associate your site to that site or to that site, you can do it. To make a site a hub site, yes, only the SharePoint admins can do that. All right, so let me go into demoing my my screen here again. Go to here and go to there and close that up. And here. So here's Greg's demo site. I am connected to a hub site because I'm inheriting this menu from somewhere. So let's go up to here, my gear, the Spacely Sprocket, and I notice my hub site is the 4.1's site. I want to change it to a different hub site. This is an insurance company I worked with a couple years back. And did it take, oops, what happened? I should have changed colors. Oh, it didn't save for me. There. Why is that? Let me refresh my page. Something is happening here. So notice the color scheme, right? I've got this reddish back here, right? You see all the fonts are in kind of red, the links are. So if I say site info and I want to associate to this hub site, maybe I'm choosing a bad hub site. Maybe that one's broken. Let's go to another one. All right. I'm going to change to this hub site, My Apron. It went to, what is happening here? Everything just kind of disappears on me. No, I don't want to do that one. That's horrible. Let me try this site. Oh, this one is a hub site. I can't use that one. Go find one of my other sites. Bear with me. I got a bunch of sites in my environment. Nothing like like the state of North Carolina. You guys got thousands, but I've got a couple hundred here. So I'm just going to pick a site here. Let's go with this one here. Modern Team site. This is an app that I built for somebody, so disregard what you see upon there, but it's just an app that I added. So notice it really does, it has a specific theme for it. It shouldn't have a hub site association yet, it says none. Now I should be able to pick a different one like My Apron. My Apron is, I worked with Home Depot. So guess what color scheme they want? Somebody tell me what's Home Depot's favorite color?
Orange.
That ugly
Uh,
orange.
Oh my goodness, but it's my favorite store in the whole world. But yes, that ugly orange. So if I selected My Apron because I made that a hub site and I used their specific orange, this screen back here, like this button should turn to that orange as well. So I select it and I save. Give it a second to refresh here, and this should turn orange. Some of these other, what do you mean files not found? Oh, okay. I just had a little burp. But notice how that went orange. I have links to the orange. That's by using the Home Depot My Apron hub site that I built. Now, notice what I also got. I got all of these, all this menu that didn't exist here. Okay, so if I go to a different hub site, I inherited not only the navigation, but I also inherited the theme. I think this one I made just really hideous. There's something wrong with that hub site. Wonder why. Let's go find another one. Why do they disappear on me? I'm having some technical difficulties in my environment here.
Well, Greg, we have a couple of questions.
Bring them on while I'm trying to figure out what's going on in my tenant here.
Okay, so this one, offside SharePoint question for permissions. When you start setting up multiple libraries and provide access through the main site settings, and then others through indirect access, and then another layer of shared access, how would I run a report to figure out these various permission levels?
Love your question. So let me go back to, so I did switch this one over to a different, notice how it inherited a different navigation now. Okay, so let me go back to my demo site here. What I'm looking at, or what, if I understand the question correctly, is how do I manage who has access to what? I can go into site permissions, and then I can go into advanced permission settings. You'll be able to tell, because notice what it says here. Some content has different permissions from what you see here. You have that ability to go in and say, well, show me what has unique permissions. These 3 files were shared with Tom, John, and Sally, and these 2 files have permissions to whatever. So I click on that, and it's going to bring me up, hey, this entire library, this library, this folder, all of these things have different permissions, and I can take a look and see what's inside of them. Did I click off by accident? Oh, this particular library has one file that has different and unique permissions. If I look and see who it is, I could see that I've added, I guess this admin, which is me, the appropriate permissions. So unique permissions. I can even check to see if, let's say, for example, I think I have my wife's name in here as a dummy user. Now I didn't use the term dummy because she as a test user. She's in the office here with me. She gave me that look. Dummy, what? Now, Peggy does not have permissions to that file, but I can check on that site as well. So right now I am deep inside of a file. So let's go, see how I went to the permissions. Let's go to the site as well. And let's see if Peggy has any permissions on this site. She has access to, by virtue of these things. Now, she was added by everyone except external users. This is one, guys, I really want to make sure I point out to you. Remember, there's two templates. Can somebody tell me the 2 templates?
Talking about the private and public,
Showcase and topic.
or communications and whatever the other one was.
Yes, communication and teams. Those are your 2 templates. Okay. Now, remember which one of them. So and this is kind of testing your memories now. Which one of them was built with a broad audience in mind?
Communication.
Hey, you guys are spot on. Absolutely right. So this particular site, I had given it was built originally in a communication site template, and I've tweaked the heck out of this thing, but by default, it comes with the everyone except external users. So in the state, it would be anyone with an nc.gov or state.nc.us or whatever type of email address in your tenant as a state employee, they automatically have access by virtue of the everyone except external users. So even though Greg, me, exists with my Microsoft.com in your tenant, I can't get to those sites that have the everyone except external users. Why? Because I'm external. If I had a greg.rojas at nc.gov, hey man, I'm one of you. I'm in, I can get to those sites. But as you see in my particular environment here, Peggy is part of the everyone except external users. Why? Because I created her with Peggy at rojasfitness.com. Yeah, right there, you can see her email address. By virtue of that, since she is a tenant member, she has added access. If I got rid of this particular group, then she wouldn't have access to that, but she's part of this and she's a part of that. So she has access to certain things because I have granted it, or I've demoed it once upon a time, how I can break those permissions on a specific document. Did that answer the question, Karen?
Let's see, Jen has responded, yes. Is there a way to run one report with all of this information versus going to each area and clicking to drill down and
Yes.
copy and paste the results?
Yes, there is. But I'm going to be respectful of your time. I'm going to get that. I know there is. I just got to give me a few minutes to get where that is. Actually, hold on a second. Let me try to do it. I should know this, right? I should know this. I just haven't done it in forever. So give me a second here. I'm going to hear. Almost certain it's inside permission. No.
Hey, Greg, this is Michelle. I can run that down while you keep going.
Okay. I know I have seen this, and it's in manage access requests. So not in permissions, it's in site info, site settings, access requests and invitations. Yeah, would you mind? Yeah, looking that up. Or oops, I got some stuff broken on my environment. Yeah, let's table that
Let
for
me take
now,
that.
and I will. Okay, and we'll get
Let
to
me
that
take
answer.
that and probably get you offline because we're getting into the weeds here.
Okay. Thank you so much. Well, that's what I have for now. I want us to take a break. Guys, I encourage you, and I really, really, really mean it. I encourage you guys to step outside, get some sun, get a little vitamin D, even if it's to check the mail, take the dog out for a quick walk. It's so important to change and get away from this blue light from our screens that we're always connected to. So take a break. Let's come back at 12:45. And if there's any other questions, I'll monitor the chat. I'm just going to grab my quick lunch and then eat as well. But any questions, throw them into the chat, especially while you step out, you come back. Oh, you know what I meant to ask? Write it in there. Let me know. Let's see what I can do to help you.
What time do you want to come back, Greg?
12:45, please.
All righty.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I will see you all shortly. Enjoy your lunch, guys. I'm going to stay connected, but I'm just going to go on mute for a little while.